Thank you very much, and thank you, panelists. Some are on their way, but we have already one important one, Maria Matteo. And also, I would not only like to thank the panelists, but the participants that are going to listen to what I, as the head of research and innovation at the delegation of the European Union, consider an important session in the context of the European Innovation Council Summit, but also a very timely one. A shortcut of the panel is, in fact, to understand a little bit what we would like to discuss and hear from the panelists, and through the interactive questions that you can pose at the end, either to the chat box or by raising your hand, is kind of destination India as for your startups, for your innovators, and how to make it happen. Let me start with some numbers. Numbers speak. Definitely in the world of innovation, if we look at the number of unicorns, India had 8 unicorns in 2018, and not later than yesterday, in end of November 2021, they had 39 unicorns. So every day 39, of which therefore about 28 new unicorns in 2021. The number of startups is also increasing by the day, and in various business areas. I would like, if you allow me, to give a very example of that variety. Today, a new startup was created, got the press, and that was on gardening and plants. And also they want to internationalize to get a wider variety of plants available in India. It's just an example. There are many tech startups, and they are hiring across verticals, aiming at improving the skilling in India, which is an issue. Maybe Maria from Ibisa can say something about that. And then the Global Innovation Index in 2018, India was positioned 57th. It's now 48. So we see it, of course, me in India, I see it more maybe than you in Europe. It's really a booming market, certainly for India. India has a policy in favor of startups to India Startup Mission. At European and Indian level, we have made several policy commitments, be it at the summit meeting in summer 2020, at the leaders meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the head of state and prime ministers of the 27 member states in Porto in May 2021, that we really also have to foster the innovation dimension of our strategic partnership. All these political commitments cannot be achieved without you innovators, startups, incubators, and also we very know well that it's easier said than done. Europe is, compared to this high numbers in India, we can say also based on innovation scoreboard and other indicators, a mature and robust ecosystem. We have established, and those that were here could really benefit from all the support and the drive for innovation within the EU through the creation of the European Innovation Council. So long story short, because I really want to take advantage of the panelists to share their experiences with you of what is necessary, how did you make it, what is your experience of having come or wanting to come to the Indian market. Is it possible? Is it impossible? What are your experiences? And I think we want to be positive, and I think we have here a very positive first example of India being doable, more than doable, interesting. But I would like Maria Matteo Iborra, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ibisa network, to tell herself about her journey in India. I think you are having, long before others, looked at India and made the step with India. So could you share your experience with us? Thank you, Maria.
Thanks a lot, Tania. Yeah, I look forward to share our experience. So Ibisa is a company headquartered in Luxembourg, and we specialize in climate insurance solutions for agriculture. So, and specifically more in countries where there is a lot of small holder farmers, so in more emerging economies. And the company is, we are currently around 10 people right now, but growing, and 3 co-founders. So myself, I have a family background in agriculture. So we have been for several generations in agriculture. But then, of course, I left and I pursue my career in satellite industry and space and blockchain. So I'm the techie of the team. But my 2 other co-founders are coming from insurance, and one of them, Annette Houtekammer, she has been more than 25 years in agriculture insurance, and she was heading different departments in Achmea, that is the biggest mutual insurer in Europe. And through the last years in Achmea, she built the Achmea inclusive insurance. So she spent around 15 years in India, working not all the time, I mean, not physically moved, but she was there quite a lot. And on my career, I also spent quite a lot of time in India with ISRO, with the space agency, the Indian Space Agency. So we both had an experience in the country. So when we started Ibisa in 2019, the countries where we had the initial demand and initial clients that will be our, let's say, early adopters was India and Philippines. So we started our journey in India quite early in our company. So we opened in 2019, and in 2019 we started in India, especially in the south of India, in Tamil Nadu. And since then, we have been growing slowly but steadily the number of customers, the number of states, and also India is in a very special moment in terms of agriculture. So there is an agriculture revolution where there is a lot of marketplace to enable farmers to get to the market, to buy and sell better, more credit to agriculture. There is some also legislation for banks to give loans. So there is a lot going on in India in empowering and improving agriculture, and as well as insurance for agriculture. So there is a dynamic now happening in India that we realize, okay, India is not an easy market for outsiders, but it's a huge market. So if we are able to let's say to play and we are in the right timing, this could be a big opportunity. So over these couple of years, we did not only increase the number of customers, but also partners. We are partnering with tier 1 insurers in India, like ICICI Lombard or IFCO Tokyo, that are big names, and with other big names in India. And now we saw the need of creating a subsidiary company in India. And this is where we are at this moment. expanding our business there and creating this company that will help us and our clients with some struggles of paying companies that are not from India. And so, yeah, it's very exciting. And yeah, in January, I will be there for a while.
Very good, excellent. I heard you say partnership with Indian insurance companies and all that. I believe, but I would like to hear your views, of course, that this is essential to get the market known or to have the market access. And can you tell a little bit more on this necessity, or how do you find your partners, and which type of partnership do you set up? That's on the one hand kind of the governance aspect, but then what would be your assessment of your knowledge? I mean, you're being really European made, and in that category, as I presented, as robust and mature. And do you feel you bring something to India new, additional? Is it complementary knowledge? Is there something that we can say that the partnership is essential and brings, it is just that partnership that brings further business?
So regarding partnerships, definitely are a requirement and essential, because especially in insurance, which is a regulated industry, for us will be so expensive and so time and money consuming to get like a regulated in India. That's what is, let's say, our place in the value chain is with partnerships. So it's definitely essential to partner with local players. Regarding the knowledge and what we bring and what they bring, so I think not only in India, but in general, in insurance, there are some insurers that are much more ahead on agriculture than others. Or I mean, let's say that the insurance that is easier to put in place is life insurance, is health insurance. And this is more common, that everybody has a good base on health and life insurance. But non-life insurance and agriculture, or everything related to climate, it's more specialized. So not every insurer, be in India or any other country, will have this. For example, in Luxembourg, there is no agriculture insurance, just to put an example of Europe. So we don't have any agriculture insurance in place in the country. So in India, it happens a bit the same. We have worked with insurers that are more advanced and insurers that are completely behind, but it's a company choice or resource choice. And but what we see as a win-win situation always is a corporate working with a startup, because the startup is always bringing innovation and agility. And when the corporates and the startup see how to work together, it's a very a virtuous partnership. And I think that is more than what Europe brings to India and what India brings to Europe, is more this big company working with startups that bring a very good synergy. Of course, what we were a bit shocked in India is the amount of bureaucracy. So even if we are used to bureaucracy in Europe, India is like a one level more, and a lot of paper. So we are much more digitalized. So it's a lot of paper.
And stamps.
And stamps. That makes our life a bit difficult in general. But yeah, I think India, something that is amazing in the country is that you find the extremes. You find the extremely advanced and the extremely behind. and it's so huge a country and so diverse that yeah, it's really there is room for everything.
Right. So it's a question of navigating through this vast, diverse country. But you did focus. You started in the south in Tamil Nadu, Chennai, and all that.
Yeah.
So very good. But all in all, I think since you are considering or will go a step further and establish in India, you do see the benefits of it. And you also said something, I don't know, Juliana in the meantime arrived, that's very good, welcome, that you need to start at the right time. And that, as you said, in the reform of agriculture, that is, the laws have been withdrawn, but that will not stop the reform that is required. It's the right time, but I think you arrived already before. Right? You need a lead-in period, and that's also one takeaway that I would recommend. But we can see what Juliana says about that. But stay with us, Maria, because we would like to have some further advice from you, some tips, if you can. So hello, Juliana. Thank you very much for joining. Juliana is program leader of the Horizon 2020 project that we are funding on the EU-India Inno Center. But Juliana is more than just that project manager. She has, we met in India, where she worked for a very leading incubator, and so she has experience of India and EU and in EU-India, and she has innovation in her DNA, I would say. So therefore, I would also like to ask to you, Juliana, in the beginning, we kind of said overall, what is the purpose of this this little round table that we have is kind of, we find it disproportionate. I find it disproportionate. I just gave some figures. Anything to do with innovation, you name it, the number of unicorn startups, increase in the takeovers, the volume of the business, the perspective, the need, it's here in India. And I find that Europeans may not yet sufficiently look at India as a destination. Why is this? You need to take the courage as Maria to do it. And but I think that you have more to say on what is needed as a startup, an innovative company to come to India and tap into that potential. So could you share a little bit with the audience on your experience, and through your experience, what would be necessary to have that destination India? Thank you.
Thank you, Tania, and thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here. Sorry for the delay. Yeah, good question. I think in general, this question needs to be answered for each startup individually to a degree. At the Inno Center, we obviously have set out a couple of key parameters that we are looking for to have a minimum viable startup in our view to say this makes sense. This is probably the right stage, the right time that can apply across the board, and that is a certain amount of investment that gives you enough runway to actually sustain to enter this market, because it's not the easiest market, it's not the fastest market. So you need a lot of stamina. You definitely need manpower to adhere to the idea of Indian customers to spend a lot of time socializing, making connections, relationships, etc. And that is obviously comes with a strain on your time budget. And for that, you obviously need to have a certain number of people in the team. You need to have diversified the functions within your team to a level. And the other thing that we very strongly advise for is to have traction in your home market or across Europe. The more mature you are, the more likely you are to survive that entrance into India. The last thing that we want is for startups to go bust in the process of entering the market, right? That should not become a threat to the overall organization, right? So, and the other things very much lie in being in the right sector, being in a space where you can actually make a difference, where you can bring a product that Indians themselves may not be coming up with. If you want to do a Me Too product, that would be probably difficult because you can't compete on price and speed, probably neither. So because Indians work day and night and labor is cheap. So I wouldn't advise to do simple things. We as a program also don't really do B2C. We mostly do B2B. It's one of the reasons we do believe that non-Indians may not understand context as well. And to be successful in India, you need to understand context, especially if you want to sell to private consumers. This is a little bit easier to navigate if you have B2B. Indians definitely don't leave themselves at home when they go to office. So there's still an element of that, even if you sell B2B. But everything is much more professionalized, and some of the sales processes that you've developed for your home country may still work. And then a huge focus for us is localization. So very few products can be just copy pasted from Europe to India. So we identify as part of our program where differences may lie, and then we do a validation process with potential clients, partners, and experts to identify how these differences can be solved and how we can adopt them to the Indian market. Pause here for now. Tania, I hope that gave a first glimpse of how we approach that topic.
No, thank you, and thank you for this honest assessment that you give, in the sense that you need time and patience and investment to study the market and all that, and also what I think is absolutely right is the maturity of the startup or the company or the product. I don't think you were here in the beginning. You of course rightly so say you need the right sector, but if I look at my newspaper or the newspaper I read, the Mint, on a daily basis, there are successful startups in any sector. So it's a bit difficult for I think we need a little bit. I mean, like today I was struck by a startup that is seen as a very new one, promising, successful. It's called Ugao, and it's on gardening and plants, because they feel that that needs to be streamlined and all that. And they're looking, that startup, at internationalization. So my eyes were kind of, no, it triggered me. And the internationalization was to get access to a wider variety of plants. Just to say that I feel that the creativity of India, or rather the entrepreneurship, is so vast and so creative that it can be in any sector almost, but you have to match that creativity. But that's maybe a light one. We are talking here about deep tech startups, and of course where there is lots of business and investment. I know, but it's an anecdotal thing. And what maybe since Taslim joined in the meantime, thank you very much, Taslim, who is the CEO of one of the incubators in India, in Bangalore, which is the city of the innovation. And maybe you have more to say about kind of the sector, even if, of course, your incubator is a specialized one on health bioeconomy. But having heard that we do perceive it as difficult, time-consuming, having all these questions, what would be your reaction to that, or your way to still, you are attracted, you want to engage with Europe, isn't it? You are unmute.
Now I'm muted. Sorry, I was so as you said, the last, most common sentence used now is you're on mute. So hello everyone, and thanks Tania for having me here on this particular European summit. I think I would say that it's having heard my good friend Juliane and her very right comments in terms of broadly possibilities and opportunities, and also the careful navigation through. I would say that individually I'm definitely very optimistic in terms of the collaboration, innovation collaboration between Indian startups, MSMEs, and European startups and MSMEs, and then cross-talk and business opportunities together. There are many, early indications that while India have had fantastic collaborations and cross-border collaborations with in research with Europe, in startup and MSME world, it is just the beginning, as one would say, for us. India has traditionally, done a lot of exciting scientific journeys together with Europe. In many countries of Europe, innovation is now something that is very, very important for two geographies, and possibly for some common and some complementary reasons. And if I may quickly, articulate that, Tania, and please stop me if I, I'm going over the time. According to me, and the sectors that I look at, which is healthcare, agriculture, animal health, and environment, two geographies, India and Europe, and more or less, if you can bring it together, it has a size which is more or less, equivalent of sorts, and so on. India, in this sector that I mentioned, is looking for solutions for its problems, solutions for societal needs, which you would call it as market for startups and as MSMEs, because if there are things that you're solving, there is a market for you and you can build on it. Clearly, in healthcare, traditionally larger corporates from Europe has done fantastic role in solving many problems, and they are here. The Bosch is here, Siemens is here, many big companies, Philips is here. From many countries of Europe, they are here and they're solving problems, building it. As more and more healthcare demands, agriculture demand, animal health demands grow, possibly there are small scale but peculiar problems that younger and smaller companies can solve from Europe. So there is a need for new innovations, new breakthroughs, which can solve new kinds of problems, new kind of societal needs that India has. If I turn it around, Europe, as we all would know, would actually slowly and steadily move towards cost-effective solutions. Traditionally, many solutions are fantastic, but they are not cost-effective in nature, and healthcare, we are sure that it doesn't work that way. India, at the same time, and Indian innovators and startups are building very innovative, at the same time, cost-effective solutions, because that's what we need. And they are the ones who are actually now looking at to market for India and beyond India. And Europe seems to be the right environment. While one looks at the US, Europe environment is very interesting, different countries, many different opportunities are there. So Europe may look at cost-effective, innovative solutions in these areas. India may look at new innovations, problem solving that they have. And possibly there are problems that both Europe and India would have futuristically in this sector that we can solve together. So for that particular reason, that there is a need, not only market opportunity, when the market has a requirement, that would open up. And right now, India is, as you would know, there are different layers of markets in India. There is a super affluent, there is a medium affluent, and there is a low, possibly income setup in India, which can be served by different kind of innovations, and the other way around. Europe would require certain kind of innovation. So individually, if I may possibly pause on this particular question, I think time is right for us to step up in terms of opportunities to build this together. It's only one way we are going to go. It's going to be up a positive direction in terms of taking innovations, taking startups, taking MSME to each other, and make a mark of solving problems for geographies for each other and building business and innovation relations. So I think I'm individually, and from what I've seen and collaborated many European
yeah, right. So yes, thank you for being so open to cooperation, collaboration with Europe and giving the merits of that. And of course, and I've seen that during my 5 years in India, stressing the need to develop products or technologies that are affordable. But maybe Europe also needs sometimes affordable solutions as well. But I don't know, Juliane, how can we make Europe know that? Because that there is such a need, that there is such a market, that there is such a possibility of cooperation and co-development. Because I feel that that knowledge is lacked among your European, I call it stakeholders between brackets, but if you reach out to or SMEs or it goes organically, but it's not systematic, isn't it?
Tania, I lost you for a few seconds because of connectivity. If you don't mind just giving the summary question. Sorry about it.
Sure. No, I thank you for being so open to cooperation with Europe, and you gave the good reasons and also stressed the affordability aspect, which is always sometimes Europeans may say my technology is too expensive, I have to downgrade it, it doesn't work, or they don't see the benefit of upscale. They prefer to have products that they can upscale rather than so-called downgrade. But irrespective of that, I was asking Juliane, and for example, also, how can we make sure that European innovators, between bracket, the larger startups, innovative SME, know about that there is this market, there is this potential, there is these opportunities, and that you are not nobody with CCAMP that is connected to so many corporates and to so many investors. Is this known in Europe and for Europeans? What do you think, Juliane?
Not widely, I would say. So I think, but this is not just I think internationalization in general has been a bit of a challenge for Europe. Yeah? If you look at Israel or the US, they always have bigger than life plans of doing things. In Europe, everybody goes the safe route and nobody moves really fast. Very rarely, like it's very rare you see somebody going very aggressively. Sometimes I even feel people have all the time in the world because there's another grant and another grant and another grant. And it takes, yeah, you have a grant for 3 years, like why rush? But in markets like India and also in the US, there's very little of that. And that also creates an environment that is very competitive, and you can like either or, right? It's not, I'm not even saying one is better or it should be this way or so, right? There's a lot of benefit of that, of all these grants, because it creates a very broad portfolio of innovation that is being created in Europe, which may not happen elsewhere. But the speed is definitely something that I see as a challenge at which we operate. And then when startups start internationalizing is two ways. Either they're looking to neighboring countries that are very similar, which is fair because it's less risky. But then these markets are also fairly small. So you may want to, compare opportunity cost a bit more. And then there's still, this big idea that everybody needs to go to the US. I think that is the biggest competition. The idea of I have to go a certain route, whereas the US typically provides a lot more competition to everyone in the same sector, etc. So at the end of the day, you have to have an individual discussion with every startup. I don't believe you can just talk about India in the big way and share the numbers and convince people with that. From my experience, that doesn't really work. It is good that good news are coming out of India. That is definitely helpful. It turns the media around in Europe. They speak a lot more positively. There's positive GDP, there's positive startup stories, etc. So all of this is very helpful. But ultimately, each company, and it doesn't matter really if it's a startup or any other company, they need to see clear benefits for themselves. They need to see a clear path to revenue in the country for them to take this decision. And this is something I think where translation is missing. And also because of the time component with India, you will take a bit more time than in another market, but the reward is also bigger. And measuring opportunity cost between these two parameters, I think, is where the tricky part lies. There's no straightforward answer, I'm afraid.
You already, I think we have almost to wind down, but I would like each to give one takeaway, what we can do, because I think we didn't call this workshop like that, but you also said it, Juliane, people look at the US, even at China. We want to have that destination India. So to make that happen from our side, EU, which I do represent and which I want to see how we can help translating the political commitments, what could or should we do? You have just one word, one idea, you can come back and think about it. But it is we all speak the same language. And while you think about it, maybe I can go back to Maria and ask that when she accessed the Indian market and made that decision to go India, how did you come about it, in the sense that did you get a support measure? Was it a program? Was it just your business feeling that it's India? And that's one thing. And then, or alternatively, what do you think we could do in Europe to make that India destination?
So, I mean, as a takeaway, I think that what Juliane said is really a spot on. You cannot go with a Me Too. So this is absolutely non-viable, and you need to make your numbers to make sure you are going to be competitive, because for us in Europe to make something that is competitive in India is really, it needs to be, I mean, software and software platform and platform models can be competitive, but it really needs to, you need to think a lot that you as a company not based in India, and also a lot of companies outsource talent from India, but I mean, now IT talent in India is also very, very scarce. And also the salaries are going up like crazy in terms of software development and IT expertise. So I think there is kind of a globalization aspect also going on. But when we decided to go to be in India, first is because we as individual persons had a background there. So there was a lot of cultural aspects and things that we had already with us, and even in that case was not easy. But we had a lot of combined experience in India and in the diversity of it. And we did not have any specific support to go to India, but our company had a support. So like we had private funding and some public funding as well. So we had a blended kind of blended finance. So we had some room to do more business development, let's say, because also another thing that was discussed here is, even if I'm coming from a country that relationship and personal relationships are very important, I think in Asia in general is extremely important, and it takes time, and you have to nurture the relations. And with COVID, that we have not been able to go there and have this initial relation, is harder to build that trust. And we have close customers in India and in Philippines without meeting them in person even once. And so it's possible, but it's much harder to build this trust. And that is an important component of doing business in everywhere, but in Asia especially, I mean, it's very important, the physical presence. So that was also one of the reasons why we are deciding to create this company, even if we are going to have an overhead of administration and compliance. But for India, and I think this happens in every country, when you have presence in the country, it's like you take it more seriously and you are committed and you are not disappearing the year after. So yeah, that's a bit how did we get there?
Yeah, so it is a bit organic as well, but what about you, Taslim? Because you kind of say, yeah, we are keen to work, we believe in the technology, the complementarity, doors are open, opportunities. It does not really happen yet in the way that we would both like it. What would be your recommendation that we should do to have more that cross-fertilization of technology and to find solutions to the problems?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Tania. So I would say, I think, of course, there are efforts like, the European landing zones, which are created and supported by EU, is a fantastic way of making European innovations and also possibly Indian innovations to know both ways in terms of what could be done. I know that there is an effort being created to have such landing zones in Europe so that Indian innovations can be there. So this is now a structure that can be utilized. So it's a fantastic idea. It's in practice, supported by the EU office in India. So that has been fantastic. I think we could possibly create landing zones like CCAM in the biotech healthcare environment. Can we actually possibly, and I think I just heard Maria talk about physical presence. So could this startups be possibly come here and get, kind of acclimatized, not only with the weather, but the environment of the business of that particular sector by lending at those zones, by lending at place like Sea Camp. We are very happy to host for 7 days, 14 days, and then connect with people around it. So it is kind of an immersion in the environment rather than learning from far. So that is a second machinery that we could put in. The third one, and very clear one, I think that we are slowly from CCAM, we are slowly getting into something what we call it as a problem statements to grand challenges. So we want to now identify problem statements, put it as a grand challenge and show it to Indian innovators and also show it to European innovators. From Europe, possibly we can get the same, that there are problems that we want to solve from EU side or individual country side. Does India have those solutions and can we solve it now? So what we are looking at as an Indo-EU innovation zone, where problems are being stated by both geographies, and then we are throwing it open for both geographies to do that. And this could be geography specific India, this could be EU, and then third version, Indo-EU problems that we think we have to solve together. Think of it, once we have this going on, we will have an organic way of movement that we are hoping for a while. Sometimes we are, I think, pushing the cart. We have to attract the cart when then there is something, we have to attract the horse to the water, right? We cannot push horse to the water. There is a water and then attract the right horse to that. And that is something we have to do. We have to identify where are the water bodies. So horses will come and have that water. So I think these structures, we are already half there. We can together as a collaboration between India and EU, we can build such grand challenges structure that we are very keen to build on with EU. And then hope that these structures in 5 years will have a lot of movement of innovation and hence startups and MSMEs. I hope I kind of answered your question, Tania.
So absolutely, no. I mean, this whole fostering innovation is a learning process, and I took duly note. Thank you for the EU landing zone. I appreciate that. And Juliane, you have, because maybe we also should see if we have a couple of minutes because we started a bit late. I don't know if our IT people are still with us and will stay. Yes, we have. Great. Thank you, Laura. So, Juliane, have you a takeaway or something that, I mean, it's we look this and we have to make people look like.
I think all of us also come with their own mandates and experiences, right? But what I would say, and us at German Entrepreneurship, right? We do obviously that EU India Inno Center work, but we also do German Accelerator work, which is related to the German startups. And we've been doing this for many years, right? So one of the takeaways is, for this even to get hold in an ecosystem, you need to do it consistently and with for many years, for people to understand that these offerings are even available. And then the other part to that is you need to show success. And with India, success won't be coming in a year. It doesn't come in 2 years, probably either, not in the sense that I can show, look, this startup went from Series A to unicorn status because they went to India, and then it would probably resonate, right? Because most of the startups that we work with, they may never reach a unicorn startup because they're not in the realm of unicorn startups, right? Because most of them happen in B2C, and then there's a certain other spaces that this may likely happen. But that may also not be the ultimate goal to become a unicorn, but to get the right products into the market and with the right financial setup as well. I think this is one thing where the government may also be able to support a bit more. Is the you need to do an initial adoption again. So as I said earlier, the startups that we work with, they typically have a market in Europe. They sell their product sometimes in the hundreds and the thousands of products. Yeah, so they do have a certain success in their home markets or in Europe. But then if I come to India, oftentimes I have to re-innovate certain parts of my offering, and that it can be the product itself, but oftentimes it is also the business model, which means I have to be a lot more careful with my business economics. And so I need an excellent CFO or some really good finance people that can actually, you know, observe exactly where I'm losing my money, because that's the only way to be competitive in India. So there's many little pieces that have to come together. And that's why I'm saying more support from the EU for me is a long-term commitment for promoting innovation in India. And as Taslim said, that can come in many flavors. It could be, you know, expanding these economic zones. And when I say expanding, I don't mean more zones. I mean more work in each of these zones, so that we can go deep. Yeah, this is oftentimes a very deep work. It's not just a broad work to welcome more startups. And the same applies to the EU India Inno Center. If the longer we can do the work and systematically do the work, learn from what we've been doing and keep improving, so more startups will benefit from the learnings of everybody else. And that's how you transfer those learnings as well.
That was very useful, deepening more than widening, and also a variety of support measures, services to make it happen. So thank you very much. I think I saw while you spoke, Maria nodding, and then Taslim spoke, you were nodding. So I think we had a lot of meetings of the mind. We are all committed to this destination, India. We do not deny that it is difficult, but I think we also said that it is rewarding, not only because of this potential of a large market and all that, but it's definitely an interesting country from various points of view. And I also fully agree with you, Juliane. It's not because I mentioned that yesterday the 39th unicorn in India was born. This time it was on a platform, Spinny, for car retailing. So it's every day something else. I think what we, especially Europeans, we should look at, or even more so, and I think that it would be my takeaway, is we need to find a way to set the problem and share it and see who and when together we can find a solution. So we need to channel that better, that the answer does not have to come from a unicorn, but from really an SME, a startup that is serious about it and can bring niche markets as well. I stop here. I found it very interesting. I'm so happy that we could share our experiences. Any people that listen have questions? Want to raise your hand, or it was crystal clear in the sense that you will all come to India or you will all run away from India. But I saw that we had a good number of people attending, and that of course is also good for us to see that there was interest in that platform. I think certainly in India, for Taslim and me, it's late, it's 9:30. I'm still in the office and I was here early this morning. So if you allow me, I would like to close. Thank the organizers, thank the European Innovation Council and their agency that allowed me to offer this platform. Thank you very much. I think we had a very good, rich panelists. And I hope that the audience enjoyed it as well, and that we can also look for us at EU level on some of the takeaways for the longer term support that is definitely continue to be needed. On this note, Juliane, Taslim, Maria, all very nice to see you together, and have a nice end of the day and evening. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks, Tania. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Tania. Good to
Yes.
see everyone.
And thank you to
Bye.
yes, my colleague Jasper, in particular from the agency that helped me setting up this platform.